Welcome to the Classic Soap Operas podcast.
Oh, I think we have to immediately pump the brakes on the word classic for today's deep dive.
Yeah, that's a very fair point.
We aren't talking about a show that defined a generation. We aren't even talking about a show that defined, like, a single year.
No, not at all. We are looking at a crater in the pop culture landscape.
Hmm?
We're going back to 2009 to look at a TV show that had, every ingredient for success. It had massive stars, a huge budget, a prime network slot.
And yet, it just imploded so spectacularly that it became a legend for all the wrong reasons.
It really did.
It is such a fascinating case study. We're talking about The Beautiful Life, which was produced by Ashton Kutcher. And while it's easy to laugh at it, and, we probably will, the mission here is to actually understand why it failed.
Right.
Because the show, it sits right at this intersection of, like, the death of traditional TV marketing and the very, very messy birth of digital streaming.
It's like a fossil record of the media industry in 2009. So let's set the scene. We've got our source materials here, production notes, the original casting breakdowns, some truly savage reviews from the time, and of course, the history of its very public cancellation.
And to understand The Beautiful Life, you really have to understand the network it was on, which was the CW.
Mm-hmm.
In 2009, the CW was chasing a very specific high. They had Gossip Girl,
This was a phenomenon?
a total cultural phenomenon. They had 90210. Their entire business model was basically rich, beautiful people behaving badly in expensive clothes.
Right, it's pure wealth porn.
Yeah.
But the timing is so interesting, isn't it? September 2009, the world is like deep in the Great Recession.
Exactly.
Was the audience maybe getting a little tired of watching teenagers complain about their trust funds?
That's a key insight. I think the appetite for that pure, unadulterated gloss was shifting. But the CW, they just doubled down.
So the premise of The Beautiful Life, or TBL, as I see they tried to brand it,
They really did.
it was basically Gossip Girl meets America's Next Top Model, but, scripted.
Yeah. So the show centers on this model's residence in New York City.
Which, from what I'm reading in these notes, was basically a frat house with better bone structure.
That is a perfect description. A co-ed dorm for the genetically gifted. And the show really relies on two main archetypes to drive the drama. First, you've got the faded glory character.
And that was Sonja Stone, played by Mischa Barton.
Right.
And this casting choice alone is worth stopping to talk about. Mischa Barton was arguably the biggest teen star in the world a few years before on the OC.
Oh, for sure. Her death scene in that show was a cultural reset.
It was. So bringing her back to TV should have been a slam dunk.
On paper, yeah, absolutely. It was stunt casting to bring in that built-in audience. But in the show, her character Sonja is considered a veteran at age 23.
23's retirement age. Wow, that is brutal.
It just highlights the heightened reality they were going for. The show treats her like she's a war hero returning from the front lines, damaged and weary.
And why did she disappear? Spoiler alert, for a show literally nobody watched.
She had a secret baby.
Of course she did. The secret baby trope. It's like the break glass in case of emergency for soap operas, and they used it in the pilot.
It just signals a real lack of patience in the storytelling. They needed high stakes, like immediately.
Okay, so to contrast Misha's old guard character, you had the fresh meat.
Exactly. Sarah Paxton played Raina Marinelli, the new it girl, who steps off the bus and, like, instantly books all the biggest campaigns.
And she's the one with a secret past, right?
Oh, everyone in the zip code has a secret past. Raina is stunning. She's rising to fame. She's meant to be the one you root for.
And looking at this cast list, it is such a bizarre time capsule of late 2000s talent. You have Corbin Bleu.
Fresh off the massive success of High School Musical.
Right. Playing former child model who wants to be a DJ.
Which just feels like the writers ask, what is the coolest job we can possibly think of? And landed on DJ. It was 2009, after all.
It really was. Then you have Ben Hollingsworth as the audience surrogate, the innocent farm boy from Iowa named Chris, and Nico Tortorella as Cole, the rising underwear model. It's like they're checking every demographic box.
And watching over all of them was Elle McPherson, an actual supermodel.
Wow.
She played the agency owner, Claudia Foster. She was supposed to be the mother figure, but in that classic CW way where the mother figure is also undermining everyone to stay relevant.
So you have the cast, you have the setting. The network clearly wanted this to be their next flagship show. They were going for gritty, but also glamorous.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the reception, the disconnect is just jarring. The critics didn't just dislike it, they seemed like personally offended by it.
The reviews are brutal, but they're so instructive. The Chicago Sun-Times wrote that the characters were about as distinctive as mannequins.
Ouch.
And the San Francisco Chronicle criticized its pointless gloss.
Pointless gloss. That is a scathing critique. It implies there is absolutely nothing underneath the surface, just shiny objects moving around.
And that leads us directly to the production philosophy. Because the gloss wasn't an accident, it was the whole business model. This show was, in a lot of ways, an infomercial disguised as a drama.
This is where the notes on integration caught my eye. They filmed on location in New York at Kaufman Astoria Studios to get that authentic feel. But the producers were just so aggressive about product placement.
Extremely aggressive. I mean, they negotiated deals with high-end designers to supply all this couture for the cast, which serves two purposes, right? It lowers your costume budget, and it creates revenue from brands who want the exposure.
But there's a story in here that suggests the commercial side of things actually dictated the physical reality of the actors. I'm looking at the ear-piercing incident.
This is one of those facts that sounds completely fake, but it is right there in the production logs. Mr. Barton, despite being a fashion icon, did not have pierced ears in 2009.
Which is surprising in itself. You'd think after years on red carpets that would have just happened.
You'd think. But the show had a product placement deal with a very specific jewelry designer. And the contract said that the character, Sandra, had to wear these specific earrings.
And the earrings required pierced ears.
Yep.
So this wasn't an artistic choice. The director didn't say, Sandra needs to express her inner turmoil through jewelry.
Not at all. The producers basically told Mr. Barton, we have a contract. You need to go put a needle through your ears. And so she did.
That feels, I don't know, dystopian. It's a level of corporate control over an actor's body that you just don't hear about. It really highlights that The Beautiful Life wasn't art. It was a vehicle to move product.
And that philosophy extended to the marketing, which is where the train really started to go off the rails.
Yes. The marketing campaign for this show was arguably more famous than the show itself.
We're talking about the Naughty Nudes campaign.
A title that the marketing department probably high-fived each other over.
Oh, for sure. The strategy was basically shock and awe. They took the cast, Sarah Paxton, Corbin Bleu, Ashley Madeckley, and photographed them fully or semi-nude with the tagline, "What are you looking at?"
It's aggressive. It's confrontational. But isn't that kind of standard for a teen drama? Sex sells.
It is, but the way they executed it felt desperate, not cool. They didn't just put these on billboards. They did this targeted strike during New York Fashion Week.
Right. They partnered with New York Magazine, have the details here. They made a special poly-bagged edition of the magazine. So it was wrapped in plastic, like it was adult content you'd have to buy from behind the counter.
Exactly. And they mailed this to 4,000 high-profile influencers, editors, fashion insiders. So imagine you're a serious fashion journalist. You open your mail expecting industry news.
And you're greeted by Corbin Bleu from High School Musical, shirtless, asking, what are you looking at?
It feels like a total miscalculation of the audience. They were trying to court the high fashion crowd, but using a teen soap opera aesthetic.
It was tonal whiplash. They were handing these out in the tents at Bryant Park, trying to force the show into the conversation of real fashion.
But the fashion world smells inauthenticity from a mile away.
And frankly, it seems like the general public did too. Because for all that money, for all the billboards and the polybag magazines, the premiere numbers were catastrophic.
Catastrophic is the right word. We have to look at the timeline because it is just startlingly short. The show premiered on September 16th, 2009.
Okay. Mid-September. Prime time.
It was canceled on September 25, 2009.
Wait, that's what, 9 days?
9 days. 2 episodes aired. That is it.
That has to be some kind of record.
Yeah.
Shows usually get at least 3 or 4 episodes to find their footing. Why was the axe swung so quickly?
It just comes down to the raw data. The premiere drew 1.38 million viewers. Now today, on a streaming service, maybe we could spin that, but for network TV in 2009.
That's dead on arrival.
Completely. The Vampire Diaries, which premiered on the same network around the same time, was pulling in nearly 4 times that.
So nobody showed up. And the people who did show up left.
Correct. The drop-off for episode 2 was significant, down to 1.1 million. The network saw the trend line was pointing toward 0 and just cut their losses immediately. It was the first cancellation of the entire TV season.
They won the race nobody wants to enter.
Exactly.
I want to go back to the reviews for a second, because I think they explain the why behind those ratings.
Yeah.
It wasn't just that the plot was cliché. The critics were tearing apart the fundamental competency of the production.
USA Today was particularly harsh on Mr. Barton. They called her inept and said she had solidified bad habits from her previous work.
Wow. They were basically saying she isn't acting, she's just posing.
Pretty much. And then the New York Post, which is the hometown paper for a show set in New York City, said the actors can't even get the runway stomp right.
And that's the nail in the coffin. If you're making a show about professional models and they can't walk convincingly, you just break the whole suspension of disbelief.
The audience just sees actors playing dress-up.
And then there's the San Francisco Chronicle just calling it unwatchable. So under normal circumstances, this is where the story ends. But The Beautiful Life has a second act.
And this is the part that justifies this whole deep dive, because what happened next was a preview of the next decade of media. Ashton Kutcher, the executive producer, he just wasn't ready to let it die.
And we have to remember, Ashton Kutcher in 2009 wasn't just Kelso from that 70s show.
Not at all.
He was becoming the serious tech investor. He was the first person to get 1 million Twitter followers. He was obsessed with the internet.
He was a futurist. He looked at the cancellation and basically said, the Nielsen ratings are broken, the audience isn't on TV, they're online.
So in December 2009, months after the show was totally dead, he announced they would stream the remaining unaired episodes on YouTube.
Which today, we wouldn't even blink at that. Oh, it moved to streaming. Happens all the time.
Wow.
But in 2009...
Yeah, YouTube was for cat videos and low-res vlogs. Putting $1 million scripted drama on YouTube was completely unheard of.
Kutcher called it an industry first, and he was right. He was trying to bypass the gatekeepers. He even got a sponsor, Hewlett-Packard. This wasn't just a file dump. It was a business strategy to prove that content could live on the web.
So was he right? Did The Beautiful Life find a massive second life online? Did it become a viral sensation?
The experiment functionally failed. The episodes got decent views in the high hundreds of thousands, but it didn't ignite a revolution. The infrastructure just wasn't there yet. People weren't used to watching 42-minute dramas on their laptops.
It feels like he was about 3 years too early. If he does this in 2012 or 2013, maybe it works.
Exactly. It's a classic case of being right about the direction, but wrong about the timing.
But because they released those episodes, and because we have the production notes for what would have happened, we get a glimpse into the madness we missed.
And honestly, the stuff they didn't air sounds infinitely more entertaining than what they did air.
I'm looking at these plot lines. Raina, the it girl, was going to have a storyline with her brutal ex-con father.
Which is a sharp pivot from which dress should I wear. It suggests they were trying to add some grit to the gloss.
And her brother, Alex, was going to get entangled with Russian mobsters.
Because nothing says high fashion like the Russian mob. It just shows the desperation of the writer's room. They were throwing every soap opera trope at the wall to see what stuck.
Offsters, why not?
And then there's Marissa, the antagonist model. Her big plot line was stealing a one-of-a-kind pair of shoes from Max's area.
Okay, that actually feels on brand. Petty larceny for couture. That, I believe, that feels grounded compared to the mobsters.
It does, yeah.
But we have to talk about the white whale of this production.
Mm-hmm.
The piece of lost media that, frankly, keeps me up at night. The guest star for episode 8.
This is my favorite detail in the entire research stack. It's the cherry on top of this disastrous Sunday.
Okay, so the show was canceled while they were filming episode 7. So episode 8 was never finished. But because of a scheduling quirk, they had already filmed one specific scene for episode 8 way back in July.
And that scene featured none other than the legendary illusionist David Copperfield.
I need you to explain to me how David Copperfield fits into a show about models in New York. Was he a model?
No, thankfully, he was playing himself. He was there to perform a magic trick on Mischa Barton's character, Sanja.
And not just a card trick. He wasn't pulling a coin from behind your ear.
No. The notes describe it as a boxless sawing in half.
Boxless.
Meaning he was going to slice Mischa Barton in two right there on stage without the big box that hides the whole mechanism. It was a brand new one and he had never performed publicly.
So let me get it straight. Somewhere on a hard drive in a vault, there is high-definition footage of David Copperfield magically sawing a teen idol in half. And because the show was canceled 2 weeks in, nobody has ever seen it.
It is totally lost. Some still photos were leaked to a Magic magazine, so we know it physically happened. But the video, gone. It wasn't part of the YouTube dump because the episode was never even finished.
That is tragic. That is the definition of a cultural loss. I feel like we were robbed of a viral moment before viral moments were even a thing.
It's the perfect metaphor for the whole show, isn't it? A high-budget, elaborate illusion that nobody actually got to see.
So when we step back and look at The Beautiful Life, beyond the ear piercing and the Russian mobsters and the magic tricks, what is the legacy here? Why are we even talking about it?
It's a story of transition. You have the old world billboards, magazines, network TV schedules colliding with the new world of, digital content and influencers. And The Beautiful Life tried to straddle both, and it fell right into the abyss between them.
The old model was too slow and expensive to save it, and the new model, the YouTube experiment, was just too immature to sustain it.
Precisely. It's like a tombstone for the era of big budget teen trash. After this, the whole genre had to evolve. It had to get smarter, like Pretty Little Liars, or more supernatural, like Vampire Diaries.
You couldn't just rely on pretty people in a room anymore.
And you certainly couldn't rely on piercing their ears to pay the bills.
A hard lesson learned for everyone involved, and that's the thought I want to leave you with today. The media landscape is constantly shifting beneath our feet. The Beautiful Life thought it was standing on solid ground, but it was actually standing on a trap door. And somewhere, David Copperfield is still waiting to finish that trick.
A beautiful illusion indeed.
Thank you for listening to this deep dive into the wreckage of 2009 television. If you enjoyed this forensic analysis of a flop, please make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Tell us, would you have watched Misha Barton get sawed in half? We'll see you next time.